Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Launch Space. My name is Brian Benz. I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft and the host of The Launch Space. I'm here with Julian Sharp and Trevor Ford. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves in a moment. Before I get started with that, I do want to invite our folks who are viewing this on YouTube on the developer channel for Microsoft to go to aka.ms/learntv. Dial in there if you want to ask any questions or have any feedback about the show. It is a live broadcast. We'll be taking your questions live during the show. So aka.ms/learntv is the link for that. And thanks for joining us, Julian and Trevor. Do you want to introduce yourself, Julian?
Hi, yes, I'm Julian Sharp. I'm a Dynamics and Power Platform Solution Architect and Microsoft Certified Trainer.
Sweet. And Trevor?
Yep, I'm Trevor Ford. I'm a content developer at Microsoft, and I've been with Microsoft in Worldwide Learning for the last 2 years.
Great, thank you. And the reason we're here today is we're going to be talking about Microsoft's Power Platform Solution Architecture Certification. A new certification, PL600, has recently come out, and we're going to tell you all about it. A little bit about the Power Platform, a little bit about the certification itself, and why you want to become a solution architect for the Power Platform. So we're going to start with Julian, and I'll let him take it away.
Great. Thanks, Brian. So what we're going to start off with is just to explain what the Power Platform is for those of you who don't know. Then we're going to be looking at what the role of the solution architect is. And then Trevor's going to go through the actual process of developing the course and what's actually on. So you understand what's actually gone into this. And talk about the journey that the solution architect exam needs. So it's not just a standalone, or it is a standalone exam, but what prerequisites you have. We'll then both look at what's actually in the actual certification, the PL600 objective domain, and just walk through to give you an idea of the scope of the course and the exam. And then we'll flip to the learning material we have. We'll first look at Microsoft Learn, what's there now. We'll also tell you what's coming out. That's the main purpose of today, to tell you what's coming. And then we'll just walk you through the actual course. Now, I'm not going to be able to run through everything today. It'll take all day just to run through. It's quite broad, you'll see. But we're just going to give you a flavour of what the course is going to be like. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to take you through one of the group exercises in the courseware. So let's start off with what is the Power Platform. And this, a little bit of a marketing slide, but I love it. This slide tells me how much of penetration the Power Platform has reached so far. The Power Platform is Microsoft's tool set for building custom line of business solutions with low code or no code. It's based around cloud-based solutions that are easy for anybody to build, a Power App or a Power Automate flow, and link systems together to create custom line of business systems that can be deployed really easily. And we see some of the stats in it. It's grown massively over the last year. We've seen a huge growth in adoption of the Power Platform by organizations of all sizes. And you see some of them there. And what's interesting about the Power Platform, especially in the last year, is how organizations be able to very, very quickly adapt to building business solutions really, really quickly and turning things around in very difficult and trying circumstances. For instance, if you've been to have your vaccination recently, it's likely that the people recording your vaccination have been using the Power Platform to record that, because many organizations have gone and used that technology. So what is the Power Platform? Well, it's made up of a number of different tools, and I'm going to talk about those shortly. But essentially, it's a suite of tools to build line of business applications with low code or no code. You do not need to be a developer to build solutions in the Power Platform. It's made up of Power Apps. So actually, when you think about the Power Platform, most people who know about the Power Platform have heard of it, think about Power Apps. These are for building web and mobile applications that you can build in a browser and deploy really easily. You just share them, and it's all handled through secure Azure Active Directory to push those out to users. We use Power Automate to create automations within systems, but also across systems. Probably one of my favorite tools, actually, the Power Platform. We use Power Virtual Agents. Anybody can build a chatbot to create question and answers and to increase user assistance and help people do their jobs. And finally, we've got Power BI, which is actually the oldest component of the Power Platform. It was only released in 2015. It's now the leading analytics and self-service tool to help you gain insights into your data and your system. Now, the thing about the Power Platform is these tools are individually great, but when you start putting them together, you can create really great business solutions. That's actually what the Power Platform Solution Architect is about, using all of these together, plus then leveraging all the other services, such as AI Builder, to add machine learning into your apps without being a data scientist. Using the data connectors to connect to over 400 different cloud services, Microsoft and non-Microsoft, but also hybrid systems on-premise. We've got a whole lot of telemetry track to see what's going on. And it's all underpinned by what I think is one of the greatest things about the Power Platform, Microsoft Dataverse, which is a solution, a system for building applications on. It's a data store on steroids, as I like to say. But the Power Platform isn't just no code. It's also for developers as well. The Power Platform enables all kinds of developers, citizen developers to pro developers to come together to build solutions. That's what, because there's not enough developers in the world, and this is the solution for the future, for building line of business applications. And this is actually one of my favorite slides. It really helps understand where we are. The Power Platform is built on top of Azure, which is it's highly scalable. We leverage a lot of the Azure services in terms of identity authentication. We leveraging other services in Azure, such as Azure Synapse and Azure Cosmos DB. I could talk for hours on this. And if you come on the Solution Architect course with me, we'll talk a lot about that sort of thing. But the Power Platform is effectively the platform for building other business applications on. So Microsoft now builds Dynamics. It's built on top of the Microsoft Power Platform. You can use Office with it, Office 365 services to build solutions. And Microsoft Teams has a real big focus. You can actually build Power Apps inside Teams. You can build Power Virtual Agents and deploy them inside the Teams channel. But as I said, it's not just no code. We've got GitHub alongside there. We've now got building in, Microsoft is investing hugely in the tooling to enable automatic deployment, Power Platform solutions, to make it easy for anybody. And we'll talk about maybe working together, collaborating in your build solutions. So and this other slide here, one thing that's very different on the Solution Architect course. If you're coming from a Power Platform background, you're a functional consultant. You've worked on building apps and building flows and everything. When you get to the Solution Architect level, we have to start considering everything that's involved. It's not just the apps. We have to integrate in with the Azure service. We have to integrate with other systems. We want to use cognitive services. We may be using Azure functions to extend our solutions. So a solution architect needs to consider creating solutions that leverage not just Azure, but also the other services such as Microsoft Graph and Azure Synapse Analytics. So what is the role of the solution architect? Well, as I sort of hinted at just then, you may come from a functional expert. You may already be working in as a functional consultant on projects, or you may be a developer on projects. And Trevor's going to go a little bit more into that later. But often when you become a solution architect, your role changes. You're seen as the expert. You're seen as the technical leader of the project. So therefore, people often look up to you. You become that knowledgeable resource, the person who's been there, seen it, done it. And you have to sort of switch your role. A lot of what we talk about in the course is changing from being a doer into a leader and a thinker. It's really hard. It's really hard as a solution architect to get hands off. You need to leave other people to do it. So your role is to encourage other people. It's to help them work through problems. You can't just act as the appeal to authority. What I say goes. You have to persuade the people because they're the ones doing the work. You can't just say do it. So it's about solving problems. It's about helping people get to the answer. But in the end, you as a solution architect are the owner of the overall architecture and design, and you need to make sure you're delivering against that. So a key role in the solution architect is that solution envisioning, and we'll go through some of that in the course. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Trevor to explain the process we go through in designing courseware. Trevor.
Yep, thank you, Julian. So the first place that we start is with a job task analysis. We call it a JTA. And this is where we bring in subject matter experts in the given job role that we're targeting. So for this case, it would be Power Platform Solution Architect. We bring in a group of Power Platform Solution Architects, and the goal of the job task analysis session is to define the role and get down all of the tasks, the duties, the day-to-day responsibilities that a Power Platform Solution Architect needs to know to be successful in the role. So once we get all of those down and then grouped, they split into two different areas. We go into the content development tasks, and that's going to inform our Microsoft Learn content. It's going to inform our instructor-led training, our hands-on labs. And then on the other side, it's also going to inform what we test in the actual certification exam. So we'll take those tasks and we look at what is testable. Because with the solution architect role, as Julian said, a lot of it is getting you away from just doing the actual building and configuring and more into the leader of the project, the designing, the overall thinking. So we look at what of those responsibilities are testable, and that turns into the certification tasks. So I want to look a little bit deeper into the actual phases that go into the exam development. So right after we have the completed certification tasks, we go into a blueprinting exercise. This is where we send out the tasks in the form of a survey to more subject matter experts, more people that day in, day out are doing the role, in this case of the Power Platform Solution Architect. And this determines the validity of each task. So the tasks that are done more often, the tasks that are more critical that a solution architect has to know and has to know well, they're going to score a little higher and therefore will be a bigger piece of the overall exam in the objective domain, and then more likely that you're going to see more questions on that on your exam. Mm-hmm. After the blueprinting is done, we get the objective domain. This is, if you're on the exam page on Microsoft Learn, the skills measured that you're going to see, that's the objective domain. And it has percentages in the different categories that are going to be what's covered overall in the exam. So once we have that, we have Microsoft trained item writers that will be writing the actual exam questions and the case studies that you're going to see when you take the exam. These are written to Microsoft quality standards, must be accurate, must be real world and relevant to the specific job role that we're targeting in this certification. Once those are finished, we go into the alpha review. This is the initial review of the items, the first quality check to identify any issues before the exam goes into beta. This step sort of sets the standard of the competency that the people must know to be able to pass this exam. And once those items are selected after a psychometric analysis, it goes into beta. And that's where we are today with this Power Platform Solution Architect exam. It's in beta right now, so you can go ahead and take it. This is definitely the most critical quality check in the process, because this is where we actually get data on the actual feedback from the exam, so we can check which questions are performing well, which aren't, and better check the quality of the exam before it goes live. So to give you a quick picture into what a beta to live publication looks like, this timeline is sort of dependent on how many people take the exam in beta and when they take it. So just generally across Microsoft certifications, we like to have 250 to 300 beta participants to maximize the information that we can obtain and just to overall ensure better quality on the exam. So this timeline kind of depends on when that number of people take the exam. And again, making a decision based on fewer responses can affect the quality. We like to have more data that we're looking at when we're determining what questions are performing well and what questions aren't. But this just gives you a look at that process and what goes into an exam from beta to live. So you can take the exam now while it's in beta. You won't receive your score until it goes live, but you are able to go ahead and take it early. So once the exam does go live, it doesn't stop there. For role-based exams like this one, specifically based on Power Platform Solution Architect, the exam and the items, the objective domain, they're reviewed every 2 months. These are typically smaller changes. We look at, have there been any changes in the tasks that need to be performed in the role? Have there been new features added to the product? Have the features been removed? Just to keep this up to date. And then once a year, we take that job task analysis that I talked about at the beginning, and we review that again in a job task analysis refresh session where we bring in more subject matter experts, and we look at each task and we determine if it's still relevant to the role, if it needs to be more focused on, or if it needs to have less of a focus. So we look at everything, and this is more of the revolutionary change. The bigger changes are more likely from this, and that's done once a year. So on the other side of the job task analysis, the actual content development, the training content that's based and tied to the role and the certification, this is also taken from the list of tasks that are needed to be able to perform the role well. So after we have those tasks, we go into a design phase where we look at learning objectives. So what do we want you to learn as you're coming through this training? And that develops our learning paths and our modules that go to Microsoft Learn, and then again, also to our instructor-led training. So after that, we go into the development phase where the actual content is written, hands-on labs are built, tested, developed. And then if we have any videos in our content, that's also developed here. That goes through another subject matter expert review. Updates are made for technical accuracy if needed to make sure everything's aligned to our learning objectives. And then we go to publish. So we would publish to Microsoft Learn. Currently today, we have one learning path that is tied to this exam. We'll be going through that later to show you what that looks like. We are bringing more content there. And then at this stage, we would also publish to our instructor-led training. And it doesn't stop there. Again, we get feedback as people go through our trainings, as they go through the Microsoft Learn content, as the product updates. So we're constantly updating to keep this content up to date. So now I just wanted to give you a quick look at the business applications certification portfolio. This is every certification that we have under business application in market today. And these are grouped in two different ways. We have at the bottom, we have our fundamentals certifications. We have Power Platform fundamentals. We have Dynamics 365 customer engagement and Dynamics 365 finance and operations. And these are just the kind of entry level to the product fundamental certifications. Everything else aside from those is going to be role-based, like this one, Power Platform Solution Architect, based on the Solution Architect role. It's still grouped the same way: Power Platform, Dynamics Customer Engagement, and Dynamics Finance and Operations. And so if you look, you see we have Dynamics 365 plus Power Platform Solution Architect. That's in market today. That exam is set to retire on June 30th. And that was based on that job task analysis session, the growth of the Power Platform. We rebranded that to be Power Platform Solution Architect, and this is replacing that old certification. So if you're on here and you're thinking, the expert level cert may not be the best place for you to start, you can see we have other options. If you're new to the product, fundamentals would be a great place to go. If you're in market doing the, say, functional consultant role for Power Platform, we have a Power Platform functional consultant certification that would also be a great place for you to start.
Yeah, and for those of us who've been involved in this Dynamics and the Power Platform, this is absolutely great. 4 years ago, we just used to have a few certifications, which were very basic. How do you build it? How do you implement it? We've got this vast range of exams, and it's only growing. For instance, there's a new exam which only came out, I think, a couple of months ago for Business Central, the MB 800. I'm actually taking that tomorrow. I know people in Business Central they've been waiting ages to have that. I think they've had a certification for about 6 or 7 years. So it's really good. It's also a really good example of the new model for building courses because it's been through that model that Trevor's been through. It's got some really great material on Microsoft Learn. And I'm actually going to be interested to see what the exam's like tomorrow. I'm taking it in beta, so that's another example of that. So I won't get the results straight away. I'll have to wait till the beta period's over. So betas are good. You get to see them beforehand, but you do have to wait for your result.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, if you're more on the Dynamics side, we have plenty of certification options for you to explore. I just wanted to give you a quick look at our portfolio so you can determine where the right place is for you to start.
Yep.
So this is our Power Platform Solution Architect learner journey. So if you're on and you're ready to start preparing for your certification, you think this is the right one for you, this is sort of the journey that you will take to get there. So if you have significant experience as a Power Platform functional consultant, a Power Platform developer, you have significant experience in those roles and you're ready to take the next step towards solution architect, this is the great fit for you. If you're also already a solution architect, you're already doing these tasks, performing in this role, and you just want to validate your skills, this is also a great fit for you. So as Julian kind of mentioned earlier, this is not a one exam certification. You can't just take PL 600, Power Platform Solution Architect, and be certified. You have to start with either Power Platform Functional Consultant or Power Platform Developer. We've looked in market, we asked these questions during the job task analysis session. So are people coming from more of the functional consultant background? Are they coming more technical, developer? And the answer was both. Solution architects they've seen can come from either path. So you can either go Power Platform Functional Consultant, start there, you get that certification, and then you move on. Or you can go the more developer, the technical consultant route, and then come here after that. If you're more on the Dynamics 365 side, specifically customer engagement apps, the sales, marketing, customer service, and field service certifications also require Power Platform Functional Consultant. So if you have those and you're ready to take that next step towards solution architect, then that's a great fit for you as well. So once you have those certifications, you have the first one you need, and you're ready to start going into the training. Again, like I said earlier, we have Microsoft Learn. That's our free platform for self-paced online training. We have one learning path today with more coming. That's a great place for you to start. It's self-paced. You can do it as you want. It is, you can go straight to the certification page and you'll see the linked learning paths below in the ways to prepare section. That's a great place for you to start getting involved with the content. Also, the instructor-led training, that's a course that's launching very soon for this certification path as well. That's a great place to start too. You get the guidance delivered from a Microsoft certified trainer, someone like Julian, who can walk you through the course together. A great resource for you to ask questions. There are exercises. We'll show you more about what those are going to look like later. But it's another great resource for you to get skilled on what task a Power Platform Solution Architect performs in role. Other than that, you need to reinforce those skills with experience. This is an expert level certification. It's expected that you have experience, significant experience as a functional consultant, as a developer, or as a solution architect, that you're going to bring that real world experience with you when you come take the exam to help you pass. Suggestions for gaining experience there would be to work as a solution architect if you can. If not, if you're in the functional consultant or developer role, shadow solution architects on your projects, volunteer to do more design work on a Power Platform solution. These are great ways for you to gain more experience. It's just going to help you when you're ready to take the exam. We also have some practice exams on MeasureUp that you can go look at. I believe there's one for Power Platform Functional Consultant there. If you're at that initial starting point, you need that first certification, that'd be a great place for you to look. But once you've gotten your first certification, then you're ready to take PL 600. You're ready to go to the exam page on Learn and sign up. Once you pass that, it just validates the skills that Power Platform Solution Architects need to know to be able to perform well in their role. And having this certification will be a great way for you to continue. After that, if you're just looking for more ways to grow, you might have the opportunity to work with our fast track team. You can go to dynamics.microsoft.com/fast track, look into there what our fast track team does. Maybe you would have the opportunity to work on them in a fast track workshop, but that's another place that you can look to see if you're able to get involved with them as well. So now we're going to look specifically at the objective domain for Power Platform Solution Architect. So this is the grouping of tasks that you're going to see on the exam. So these percentages, 35 to 40% are going to be in the solution envisioning and requirements analysis phase, the initial part. 40 to 45 is in architecting a solution, the bulk of the actual engagement. And then the last, it seems smaller, but it is very important, we implement the solution, validating, testing, supporting go live. So Julian, did you want to talk about a couple of these and how you might go about preparing for this?
Yeah, I mean, if you've taken other Microsoft exams, you may have seen a long list of bullet points that explain quite detailed, what's this about creating a table or something quite specific. When you actually look at these bullet points, they're quite broad. and quite vague actually. And I think that sums up, because the solution architect is a complex thing. It's very hard to put down a list of bullet points what the role is, what the sort of tasks you undertake, because it's just so broad. So when we look at some of these, some of them, what do we actually mean by identify existing solutions and systems? Well, for me, that's going to be looking at the different systems that are out there, understanding what the requirements of those systems are. Are they going to be replaced? Do they need to be integrated with? What sort of data needs to be transferred? Who the users are? There's a whole raft of questions that the solution architect will need to ask and get answered. Talking about capture requirements, this isn't a course or exam, which is how do I do my business analyst role. It's more about you as a solution architect leading that requirements gathering, understanding the types of requirements you're going to get. Because again, if you're coming from that functional consultant role, yes, you have gathered lots of requirements, but you may not have been exposed to the integration requirements, the data migration requirements, the non-functional requirements. So when we go through in the solution architect, we're thinking much, much broader than your probably existing experience will be. So in the course, we're going to come back to what Trevor said, I said earlier. The course is about changing you from doing a particular task into thinking about the bigger picture. It's always about the role of the solution architect, making sure as a whole, the whole project is going to work. So there's a number of different aspects you need to be exposed to, which is why it's a bit vague here, because there's a lot to it. We do go through it in the course. And then say, let's move on to the architecting a solution area. It's got a few key things in here, like, yes, leading the design process. The solution architect is, the key role is leading that design process, not doing, again, it's leading and understanding how to get the best out of your team. So there's team working aspects in here. But then there's also some very technical parts to this objective domain, such as doing the design of the data model. And data modeling is, I could talk all day about data modeling. I used to be a database administrator a long, long time ago. Building data models, understanding, you get better with experience. And again, as part of this course, we'll take you through some scenarios on what you might see. And it's very, very interesting when we actually go through the course. I was going to mention this later on, I'll talk about it now. When we do exercises, and we do group exercises in the course. And when we come to design the data model, if I have three groups, I'll get three very, very different answers. And it's just, and Trevor and I, we did one together and we found this. It was very, very interesting just seeing but what's really important as a solution architect, I need to understand the thought processes of my team. So, because I can then guide them to the right solution, because I need to get the best of them, because I can't do it all myself. So yes, there's designing the integration. Integration is a large part of this because it's part of the bigger picture. Again, as a functional consultant or a developer, you've just seen a bit of the solution. Solution architect needs to have the whole vision of everything. And you often are building an app, which is part of something bigger. So you need to understand that fits together. I think there's a phrase we use. We don't want to make the solution brittle because you've got integrations, you've got coupling and cohesion to think about. And then security. Security is a really important part. Again, functional consultants may not see this. They build the app. You just build what's needed. But a solution architect has to think, who's going to be accessing, who's got control of the data? If I've got personally identifiable information, what's the access controls on that? What's the life cycle of that data? All needs to be thought about. So that's why that's actually quite a big chunk. So there's some technical work in here. And it's not just, it's the whole Power Platform. We need to understand about Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agent, Microsoft Dataverse. But then also we're getting into integrations in with Azure, so understanding the Azure services that I pointed out earlier. All that comes into play. So again, the solution architect, Power Platform solution architect, there's a bit of Azure in there. You need to understand how that works because we want to leverage Azure to build better solutions. And then I think Trevor said, what was it? Implement the solution. Really, really important. The whole purpose of the solution architect is to get your solution live. And the solution architect is the key person in that go live time frame. They're the person everybody will be looking to. So you need to understand what the role is, managing data migration, managing the testing, making sure that everybody's aligned, supporting through that go live process, helping the customer not panic when things don't go right. Giving feedback, all those sort of things come into play. So again, 2 bullet points, but there's a vast range of things in there. So when you look at the objective domain, you have to say, okay, it's vague. But that's deliberately because it's all about the role. It is. Remember, this is an expert level exam, and it is an expert level certification. It's for me, it is not something you would come and certification you would take 1 or 2 years into your career. I normally say you need to have been around 3 to 4 years minimum, probably preferably longer, doing the role. You're probably a senior function consultant or senior developer looking to make that jump into the solution architect. And therefore, you need to have a little bit of appreciation of everything goes on. So again, it's not as an experience, but also for me, when I started my career, I went on loads of projects. I've probably done hundreds of projects. You need to have seen lots of different scenarios to get the full breadth to be a solution architect, because we're gonna expose you in the course to things you will not have seen before. Not everybody will have seen everything, and that's right. This course and certification isn't aimed at your experienced solution architect. It's aimed at the person who's just moving into that role to show that you're ready. I think Trevor, you said it really well. But what do you grow after? It's not an endpoint. This is the beginning. Yeah. I would like to say when people start in the career, you go through ranges. You start at one level, you grow through that. You think you've got to it, then you start the next level. You're beginning again. And that's what your career is. And the solution architect is a good example of that. So I went on a bit long there, Trevor. I get very excited about this.
Yeah. So now we're going to look at the Microsoft Learn content. We have one learning path today. So Julian's going to walk you through what is currently in market and currently live on Learn.
Yeah, so what we have right now, if you go into Microsoft Learn, which is freely available, aka.ms/learn, you go search, you filter down on Power Platform and Solution Architect, you'll see this learning path. This is what we have right now. Let's have a quick look at this. This is Architect Solutions for Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. This is actually a common set of modules about learning to become what is the role of solution architect. What I described right at the beginning. What does it take to become a solution architect? So this is actually common between Power Platform, Dynamics 365 Customer Engagement, and Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. And what we've got, see, actually it says here it's relevant to the NB600, the NB700, which is the solution architect for certification for finance and operations apps. And it's also, we will have, when the course wears out, it'll have PL600 in there as well. And I love the prerequisites here. They say you need a business acumen with Dynamics and the Power Platform. You need to have that functional consultant experience. And even if you're a functional consultant, you do need to actually have an appreciation of what developers do. And if you're a developer, you need to have an appreciation of what a functional consultant does. And what we've got is we've got 5 modules in here in this learning path right now. The first one is about becoming a solution architect. It really just tries to describe the role, what skills you need, the expectations. So let's have a look at one of these, just to show you what's in here. Solution architect is one of the key roles on a project. And we'll talk about the role actually all the way through the modules, actually. Well, what's the role here? But overall, where's their role? They're one of the key people in the project. They're owning the technical architecture. They're owning the overall design. They work alongside the management team in delivering the project. But as I said, they're often the person that everybody else looks to because they're the technical expert. So they're the natural leader, the technical lead. Even if they're not the official project manager or program manager, they're often the person everybody looks to. And when somebody asks me what's my role as a solution architect, what do you do all day? And I pretty much say I spend my day just talking to people. I'll be talking to the relevant people or the people in the project, whether it's the management team, the customer, or the project team members, just trying to explain things to them, trying to get over the vision of the project, trying to show them, because I'm the one with the overall bigger picture, and I need to make sure everybody's working towards the right goal, or the same goal. And also I have to listen. It's really important to use the skills of your team because they'll be bringing experience that you may not have done. They may have worked on similar projects for. Maybe it's in an industry you've not got that much experience in. They will have really good value. So it's about listening to them. Because I always say at the end of the day that it's the person who's going to commit the code or the person who's going to do the customization isn't you. The solution architect, you're not doing it. So you have to persuade people to do it for you at the end of the day. So we go through that. You'll find there's a bit of text in here, and some videos. They're not terribly long reading, but they're trying to give you a flavor of what the role is. they're trying to get you now. There's a little bit about the Power Platform, and we actually are right now creating the new modules for Microsoft Learn. We've actually got a whole module on Power Apps architecture, a whole module on Power Automate architecture. And what I mean by that is when I'm implementing a system which has a Power App, what are my considerations as a technical architect? Not how I build the app. It's okay. What are the implications? How do I deploy it? How am I going to control the application lifecycle management for it? How do I put it in place? That's what we go to in the other modules. Here's just a basic introduction to make sure we've got an idea of the scope of what's in here. But also remember, it's bringing other things like customer insights. Customer insights is actually my favorite Dynamics application. If you've not looked at it, go and do so. It's really, really powerful. So it goes through just a number of different things, talks through, and I love this slide because collaboration for me is what I do. Collaboration, coordination on projects, communication. Those 3 C's are really, really important in the role of the solution architect, and as well as important, if not more important, than actually doing the technical role. So we've got these modules here you can walk through. It talks about their role, where do you fit in, and all this is relevant to the certification and the course.
So we have a couple of questions, I believe,
okay.
Brian in.
Yes. Hey, how you doing? Everything's going great. I love this so far. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. We did have a couple of questions. One was very relevant to something you were speaking about roles a minute ago. Would this course be appropriate for someone with a developer background?
Yes, definitely. We look very carefully when this solution architect role was envisioned, and a lot of the initial thoughts, oh yes, you're just a functional consultant, but a number of us said we're more from the developer background. They have that technical developer. And yes, you do see people. I'm going to talk about this a bit later. Well, let's talk about it now. When you come on a course, and I taught this course in person doing instructor-led training, a lot of people think, is this right for me? Mm-hmm. They like the idea. They see the solution architect as somebody there. But when they actually get on the course, what they find, and I tell them all this, okay, you're now the leader, you have to do all these other things. They go, actually, that sounds quite stressful, and I don't want it. And that's great, because some people are happier just doing the work. Being a solution architect isn't for everybody,
right?
Because it does bring out some skills that it is challenging. The first, I would say, it's quite hard making that leap. And so we designed the course, a lot of the exercise in the course, to try and get you to change your mindset from doing into thinking.
Yeah,
becoming that leader, understanding what's going to be expected of you. I talk actually in the course about the worst solution architects I've ever worked with. They're the ones who produce the really nice, pretty diagrams. They spend all day sat at their desk doing these nice architecture diagrams, and the whole project team doing whatever they like.
Yeah, the slide jockeys, that as they call them. Yes,
Solution architect, there's lots of tools, and you see people, they go on courses on how to draw enterprise architecture. They spend all the time making their architecture diagrams look pretty, but the team needs guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. If you just like building anything, you have to have that foundation, right? You have to have the foundation and the structure. Otherwise, when you actually start implementing things, it just won't, things won't fit together. So very, very important. The other question was, and I think, Trevor, you did cover this a little bit, but perhaps a review is, will the exam cover items on Dynamics 365?
Yep, yeah, it does. So we have currently in market a Dynamics 365 plus Power Platform Solution Architect. That one is geared more towards Dynamics, but again, that retires June 30th and is replaced by this one. The goal of this one, it still does cover Dynamics 365. The goal of this as the Power Platform Solution Architect is basically when you're gathering your requirements and you have the requirements from the customer, you should know if one of the Dynamics first-party apps like sales, customer service, field service, marketing, if they would be a good fit. So you still need to know about those, and even into the finance and operations apps as well. I know Julian talks about how there may be some scenarios where you're working across both. So yes, it is still covered, but it's not the focal point in this exam.
Yeah, great. It's one module out of 13, I think, or something like that. But it is important to go through and have an appreciation. And this is a game where, as a solution architect, you can make use of your team because your team may have more experience in Dynamics apps than you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it isn't. I think with any Power Platform exam, there is an overlap with Dynamics because Dynamics is. I always say Dynamics is just an app on top of the Power Platform now. That's how it's now built. So it's just what we call a first party app, and using a first party app can get you there, may get you there quicker than building a Power App.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question we had is, what learning path is currently associated with this topic? And it doesn't appear on the exam page. We do have a link. If you follow the link to in the chat to aka.ms/the Launch Space PPSA Cert, you'll find a link to the actual Microsoft Learn module and the exam itself. But yeah, Trevor, Julian, if you want to take that a little bit, what learning path is that part of really?
Yeah, that's the learning path that Julian was sharing before. That's the one that we have currently live that's related to this certification. It's also related to the Finance and Operations Solution Architect. But we are bringing much more, should be published within the next month. We're bringing much more content. And again, once you go to that certification page, when the content is live, it'll be on there. But yeah, like you said, Brian, it's in the links. And then Julian, when he goes back to sharing his screen, it's that learning path. That's what's related to this exam.
So, and yeah, I mean, the quick answer is it's role-based Power Platform learning path. So, and then the last but not least, the question, does the course itself or the certification go into the specifics of solutions for specific industries?
I think when we do the course, we use scenarios. I talk about the group exercise we do. We'll come up with different scenarios. I'm going to show you one at the end of the session today. We'll go through a group exercise. But in terms of specific industries in the certification, maybe you'll get scenarios which are based around particular scenarios, but it's not. You don't need specific industry knowledge.
Right. Okay, perfect. So for those of you who are watching the live broadcast right now, if you go to aka.ms/learntv and ask questions there, I will do this. I'll pop in and ask questions of Julian and Trevor. In the meantime, I'll let you get back to the session. Thank you.
Yeah, the more questions, the better. So if we just flick back, I was just quickly showing you what's there. We have 5 modules right now that we have. They're basically about those first couple of bullet points actually in the objective domain that we just showed you in the previously. It's about that first bit of that, like performing fit gap was one of those bullet points. Capturing requirements, that was another of the bullet points. So these modules go through some of those early parts of that courseware. And as we just said, there's another 13 modules I think that are being written right now for delivery very, very soon. So if we go back to the slides now, and we'll now talk about the actual courseware.
So we can go back to the PowerPoint slides that I'm sharing.
I just got a little, yeah. So what we're going to talk about next is the actual course itself. I'll talk about that now while we're waiting for the slides to come up, because it's just going to be a bullet point list of the courseware. There's a course being developed right now, and so what's actually happening, there's a whole series of modules being written, as I say, hopefully be released this month. And you see actually there, I'm not going to go through all these, you actually just see the number of those. This is an issue about the breadth of this course. It is covering a lot of topics. There's a mixture of different things. There's a mixture of technical things like the Power Platform architecture. There's a mixture of soft skills like project governance. But then there's also more technical stuff such as security modeling. And then right just the bottom one is Dynamics 365 apps, what they do. And actually, it's not just about the functionality of the apps. This isn't a course telling you what Dynamics 365 sales does. As a solution architect, yes, I can go learn about the functionality. What it really is about is how do I deploy them? If I'm going to choose, say, Dynamics marketing, there are some aspects of marketing which you as a solution architect need to know about in terms of the application lifecycle management. How do I move it from development to test to live? How do I manage my reference data? How do I move certain components that you need to? And that's what we talk about. We talk about app architecture. So what we're going to do is I think we're going to look at 3 of the modules. So the first one we're going to look at is the project governance.
Yep. And just real quick before we move into that, Julian. So the instructor-led training, one of the good benefits of that is you do get someone like Julian, a Microsoft certified trainer, who can walk you through these. But we have group exercises. They're not mentioned here in just the modules covered, but some of the modules, most of them actually have group exercises where you'll work with a team, and that's one of the best ways that we saw to train solution architects is to learn from each other. Like Julian said earlier, the data modeling exercise, we had 3 different groups and we had 3 different data models. It's interesting to see everyone's thought process when you present back to the group why you made the decisions that you made. So Julian's going to walk you through what a couple of those might look like.
Yeah. So this is the project governance. We just picked 3 at random, actually. So I just picked this one. Project governance. This is one of the soft skills. So what we have to do is understand the role of the solution architect. They have the key role in project governance. So what is project governance? It's how a project makes decisions. And as a solution architect, you need to make sure there is a project governance in place, because you're guaranteed to fail if you don't have any sort of change management process, understanding who makes decisions on the project, who's got the final say. And also, you need to make sure as a solution architect that the role, that the project governance you have is fit for purpose with the project, with the Power Platform, because in the Power Platform, you can build things really quickly. I've come across situations where customers try to force me to use their project governance. I said, well, it's going to take me 10 times as long to do my change request as to actually do the work, because your change control and impact analysis was so onerous. It's not fit for purpose. So let's change it. So we go into those sort of things. We also talk about the fact that even though you may have a project manager, it's in your interest as a solution architect to put something in place to manage a project, put some metrics and reporting in place. And we end up talking about the sort of things that go wrong on a project and how you as a solution architect can help. And what we do is we have a group exercise. And this is one of the big benefits you get, as Trevor said, from an instructor-led training, is this is a group exercise where what we've actually done in the previous module, we split into groups and we evaluated some requirements. So we did some requirements gathering, the previous module. What we do in this module is we swap, we do it on a spreadsheet. We get, okay, the other team, pass it around, you evaluate them. So that's the first thing we ask them to do. We say, can you just go and review the requirements? Did they do a good job or not? And then what we do is to say, okay, can you stand up now and present it back to them and tell them what they did wrong or what did well? Because this is a really good exercise in turning people into giving constructive feedback, because as a solution architect, it's your job to go and help people become better. So you can't just say that's rubbish. You did a bad job. You have to be constructive. So it's about training you in that. And that's one thing you get of instructor-led training than what we can do in Microsoft Learn. So let's move on to the next one. This is AI. It's very common as a solution architect. You may not be involved in understanding all the analytics options available to you. So in here we go through the different types of reporting, both operational, enterprise. We go through the basic capabilities of Power BI. And in this module, we don't have a group exercise, but what we do is we have 6 discussions laid out where we actually talk through as a class how we might do certain things. So we actually say, and ask people's experience, because peer-to-peer learning is one of the best things. I actually always learn from my students when we do this, especially this module, because not everybody has the experience that everybody else needs. And then finally, the final module we're going to talk about today is Power Automate. Just to switch on to a more technical one. So this module is all about the different ways of automation. So it's not just Power Automate, although, yes, it's understanding what Power Automate does, how it actually works. But but it's also maybe, when do I use custom code? What are my different options that are available to me? And here we have a group exercise. We actually have 4 different integration scenarios we walk through. And we talk through those different things and we, as a group. And depending on how much time we have available, I'll either do 4 exercises, or what I'll do is I'll split into groups, and each group will take one scenario and then present it back to the rest of the class. So again, getting people to think on their feet and be making decisions, understanding what's important. So let's actually have a look at one of the groups and one of the group exercises. This is from the integration module. And again, I think we've got 4 scenarios at the end of the integration module. Let's just walk through this. And what's going to happen in this module, as the instructor, I act as the customer. And Trevor's going to act as one of the students. He's going to ask me some questions. So Trevor, because there's not enough information to make a decision there on that design, is there, right now? So what we're going to do, Trevor, ask away.
Yeah, so we basically have, on the screen here, you can see we have a couple of, or a little bit of information that was given to us, but as the students in the class, with someone like Julian, the MCT, acting as the customer, because generally you don't get the full story. So I might see this and ask something like, does the third-party firm have an API?
Okay, so yes, they do, Trevor. They have a JSON schema for the data they need.
Okay. Can that, or is that API exposed?
Yes, it is. There's a webhook URL that they can post data to. So with that information, you can. There's 2 possible solutions, and as an instructor, you'll walk them through. And I say, well, I could use Power Automate with the generic HTTP connector to construct a webhook, because all a webhook is a URL where you pass a string to it, or I can publish off to the Azure Service Bus. And again, that's all the things we cover in this module. And then we can have a more secure integration via the service bus can call with maybe an Azure function, calling that webhook and handling that integration. So that just gives you a flavor of what we do. For now, I think that's the last thing we're going to cover. So we've got, that just hopefully gives you a flavor of what we're going to be doing. So I think we've got a question, haven't we, Trevor? When's the instructor-led training going to be available?
Yes, so there is an instructor-led training right now. It covers, I'm going to go back to the module slide. There's a few new modules that are coming as part of the PL 600 update. So basically the Power Platform Solution Architect instructor-led training is set to go live right now, April 21st. So barring no last minute changes, that'll be when it becomes available to you. And then following a similar date for the Learn content, which will be self-paced, free on Microsoft Learn, set to publish around the same time.
Yeah, and I think you're an MCT who's asked that question. And if you're an MCT, you can go to MCT Central, and on the MCT Central page, there's a link to Train the Trainer recordings that actually Trevor and I did for the MG 600 a few months ago. But actually, a lot of that will still be relevant, because although we're changing it slightly, there's a lot that's similar. It's just a change of emphasis between the MB 600 and the PL 600. So go have a look at those and prepare for it. For me, it's my favorite course to teach. I can actually learn so much from my students because they bring their experiences, and a good instructor listens to them. And if you are an MCT, the thing you have to do is get your students to talk. I would say this is unlike any other Microsoft official curriculum course you teach. It's because it's about getting people to change behavior. It's quite disconcerting at first if you're used to having lots of material. And it's a mixture of technical and non-technical. But for me, it's really about those soft skills, getting people to change how they think, encouraging people to talk. I actually think it's really quite tricky to teach virtually. To get people to talk, because it's much easier in person, because you have to get people to work together. Microsoft Teams is great because you can put people in rooms now to work. But yeah, so I'll ramble on about this forever. Brian.
That's great. No, thanks for that. That was the question we had. I do have a question though. In terms of, I know we touched on this a little bit, but if you could describe a little bit more about what the user experience is for a beta exam versus a regular exam, and why would people want to take the beta exam? I think that's just what are the advantages?
Okay, advantages are there's a code for them. You get money off.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yes.
Yeah.
That's always a good one. If you're an MCT, you get a bit more off. But it's for the first 200 to 300 people during the beta period. There's a code you can get. I think, have you posted the link to that?
Yes. If you go to the show page we have, which is aka.ms/the launch space PPSCA cert. It's a bit long, but it'll be in the chat. If you go there, there's a link to the blog, and inside the blog there is a code for 80% off.
But I think you've got to take it by. It's only got about another week or so left, so there's not much time. There is a cutoff period. You have to book and take the exam because we need those 250 to 300 results in. The disadvantage is some of the questions may not be that good quality. Things that slip through, so you're there as a quality control. Some of the questions might be vague. So yes, you may also get more questions. You get probably you get more questions than you would in a real exam because they try different scenarios out on you to see which questions work. It's a really interesting process. The psychometrician has an amazing job. My favorite job role in Microsoft is the psychometrician. She's got the best job title. I don't know her full job title. It's the best one out.
It's sad. Yeah, I'm sure people don't just leave it at I'm a psychometrician. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they have to explain it a little further than that once they look at horror off the person's face. Yeah, but the one thing I just want to add my own thoughts on the beta exam as well is it is viewed and analyzed on a case-by-case basis versus a regular exam, which is going to be scored based on an algorithm that's already been pre-designed. And so that's one advantage as well. It takes a little longer to score, but there's going to be some nuance in the scores as well, right? So there might be not necessarily forgiven or more forgiving, but it's going to be more there are times when I know I've taken an exam and I look at a question and I say, well, 2 of these answers are right and I'm only supposed to pick 1. So there will be situations like that where, there will be some flexibility.
And you do have space to give feedback. So if you do have that and you say, oh, I think 2 of the answers are right, and you may just be given a little bit of leeway if you get it wrong.
Yeah. So not only do you get the 80% if you go to the blog and get the code on the show page, but also of course, you're going to be one of the first people certified as this with this new certification. So you also get an extra voucher for 25% off your next exam, automatically emailed to you after the exam. So you actually get paid to take the exam. Sweet, there we go. We just had one more question pop in. Is the exam available in France? And I'm assuming meaning in French. When they say that, so
I think it's available in English and Japanese initially.
Yeah,
other languages. I don't. It depends on the volumes of the exams. In my experience, it's only the real high volume exams get converted into multiple other languages, and they don't always come out straight away
during the beta.
So no, it won't be in beta. Betas are always in English, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the answer. I'm assuming, that the exam, of course, once it's out of beta, will be in multiple languages, and I'm guessing that they could take the exam now, the 365 and Power Platform cert that will be expiring in June. Is that in French? Does anyone happen to know?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think it is. I think that one would also just be English and Japanese. Some of our Azure certifications that have more volume get localized in other languages, but I don't think our Dynamics Plus Power Platform is in French yet as well.
I do know they spend an awful lot of time looking at English as a second language, checking things over. There's a big part of that to make sure we don't, especially like Canadian French as well versus French.
Mm-hmm.
There are differences.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are at our time. We've got about a minute left. Just want to say thanks to Julian and Trevor. This was very informative. And please do check out the show page at aka.ms/the launch space PPSA cert. for all of the links that we've been talking about in the show, and check out AKAMS, the launch space for the next show that's coming up. There'll be more there. And last but not least, I want to say the next show coming up on Learn TV right now is Cecil Phillip on .net is the name of the show. And enjoy Cecil. So thanks, Trevor. Thanks, Julian.
Thanks
and,
all.
We'll see everyone in the next show, aka.ms/the launch space.